Horatio here, and today we have a very special review. This time it is not special because it is a really cool item that you guys have never seen. It is special because I have never raged more about a single toy in my entire life. Today's review is the Ultraman Ultra Act. Unlike Belial, who I love to pieces and think is one of my most favorite toys in my collection, Ultraman has essentially caused me to swear off of Ultra Acts for good. He is probably my least favorite toy, so let's take a look at him and you guys can find out what about him I just can't stand. And here we have the Ultraman Ultra Act. In its packaging, we have this very cool profile of Ultraman. I am really fond of the Ultra Act packaging. I think it's very, very classy. It does read Ultra Act Ultraman. Got it. Some nice pose ideas on the back. And the top. And then the bottom. So let's get this guy cracked open. Alrighty, and here we have Ultraman out of the packaging. Before I go over his movability, let's go over all of the accessories he comes with. As with all Ultra Acts, it is quite a few. He comes with his basic fist hands. He also comes with flat hands, relaxed grabbing hands, and then, as are most commonly called, the rage hands. Then he comes with two action hands. Comes with his disc throwing hand. And his beam hand right there. And then he comes with a cape, which is about the only thing that I love about this. I love the cape. It's very, very hard rubber. It looks just super awesome on him. And that's how I pretty much always have him posed. And then he also comes with a changeable gem that is red, since when he's using either of his powers, the gem will turn to red. So let's bring him up and take a look at his movability. So we do see that one thing that I both love and hate about the Ultramans is they did paint on the eye spots, which would be eye spots on the costume. That's what the actors would see out of the costume. I both love that as an addition, and I hate it because a part of me is like, why do you need to paint that on there if it's a toy version of Ultraman? But I do love that they went to the detail. Turn him around and get a look on his back. The paint job is not great on Ultraman. You can see a lot of bleed out. Get up nice and close to really get a good look at it. You can see it bleed. The silver bleeds into the red quite a great deal in a lot of areas. There's also a change from painted silver to a silver plastic right there on his ankle, and the silvers really don't even come close to matching up. We see that bleed into the knees. See it up here. You can see it on the arms. The silver and the red, just the paint for the silver was not very well chosen at all. It looks sloppy all around, and I'm really not very fond of it. We get his head. Another thing with his head is that there's extremely little movability. To be fair, there's very little movability in an Ultraman suit, but he can't tilt his head backwards at all, really. It's just completely stuck. We do have fairly decent ab crunch going on right there. We've got shoulder movements that click over and make him look very odd. Got a single joint in the elbow. Wrist rotates and moves around. And then on the legs, we do have these hip joints. Get a fair amount of movement in them. Double jointed knee. And then the ankle joint swivels. And then an additional joint in the foot. Overall, from looking at him, the things that I dislike the most about this Ultraman is the bleed out in the plastic. We have these very ugly seams in places that just really, really detract from how the toy looks sitting on a shelf. They're very apparent. Also, the plastic, and this one's harder to show in a review, the plastic feels both very light and very cheap. Not just compared with a Figuarts, but even compared with an earlier release like Belial. The plastic just does not feel on par at all. There's a lot of nicks and scratches and all sorts of bad-looking stuff that was in him right out of the package. And it's very hard to keep his whole body lined up with that line right there on his back. Another big issue is in switching out the gem. There isn't really anything holding that gem in there. So, I never switch it out. You can see when it's out, you can see a screw down in there that it hides. But the gem, switching it out to the red one, you will find over time you will lose these gems. I can almost guarantee it. There's not really a whole lot holding them in. They'll slide out even with just a little bit of movement like that. Also, the posability is extremely limited on this Ultraman as compared to a Figuarts. Overall, I am not super fond of him. Maybe it's something that I'll eventually get over. I've bought more Ultra Axe since I bought Ultraman. I've bought Zero, and I've bought Mebius, and I hated those a little bit less than I hated Ultraman, and I think my biggest problem with Ultraman is that I looked forward to it too much. I was so excited that they were finally doing a really awesome Ultraman figure. I love Ultraman. I watched the series as a kid with my older brothers. Everything about Ultraman is just this incredibly important part of my childhood, and I was really disappointed with how he turned out as a figure. But now that we've gone over that, let's get him posed up just a couple of times to give you an idea of how he'll look with some of his accessories. So here we have Ultraman looking very cool in his cape. The cape does come with a little clear plastic block that helps keep him standing in it, since it's extremely heavy. Without that, you'd basically need a stand, which would be very hard to attach with, despite the cape. And the cape has a very, very nice appearance to it overall that I am quite fond of. So that's how I generally have a tendency to keep him posed. I think the cape definitely looks very cool. The cape is very well done, and it does take away from everything that I've mentioned earlier that I do not like about this Ultraman. I think that's going to be the only way I'm going to pose him. That's my favorite way to pose him. Any of the other poses, I feel like when you start posing him bent over with his weapons, you start to see a lot of those ugly seams that I pointed out. So I generally will not pose him like that on my shelf. I feel like when you see the seams, you start to realize, wow, this toy is not the greatest toy ever. But there you go. There is Ultraman Ultra Act for you to see. Alrighty, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this review has been informative. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will love you guys forever. And if you'd like to see this review and more like it, check out RidersRangersandRambles.com, Crazy Toku News in the craziest way possible. This is Horatio signing out, and I'll see you guys at the next review.